How's it, Dave? How's it going, man?
No, it's around you.
Dan, what's up?
Good, good. How's it, Dave?
What up, Dan? How you doing, man?
Good, no complaints.
Did you watch the rugby,
No, I
Dave?
didn't watch the rugby.
Yeah, we watched the rugby, but it wasn't a good ending, hey?
Awful sporting week. I always have awful sporting week. Chelsea lost. Israel Adesanya got knocked out. The Springboks lost. Oh my goodness.
No, it wasn't a good week, hey? But, yeah, Dave's like, who cares about the sport anyway?
See, there's no disappointment.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a lovely
Oh,
weekend. The weather
jeez.
was great. Nothing, no disappointments. It's
Yeah,
good.
That's weird.
Other
When
than
we
load
were there
shedding.
in Cape Town, the weather was like so on and
I
off.
know.
Yeah, it's
In
Cape
Joburg,
Town.
and this weekend in Joburg, it rained the whole weekend, which is kind of nice
Yeah.
as well, But hopefully the weather improves now. But Joe, for those of you that have just joined us, I see a few people have joined. This is the Coffee Chat with Andrew, Dave, and Dan, all about property. As some of you know, we are in the middle, or I say in the middle, towards the end of the Sap and Roadshow. So we started off in Pietermaritzburg, Durban. I was in Cape Town with Dave and the team last week, which was awesome. And this week I'm flying to Port Elizabeth, Quebec, if I said that correct. To
Probably
meet up
not.
with Jade on Wednesday night. So I'm flying out on Wednesday, to see what's happening in the market. And Dan and Dave, it's been so awesome going around the country, looking at the different markets. Spending time with those investors in Bloemfontein, who it's all around student accommodation, and going to Cape Town and meeting a lot of people, and Durban doing the Airbnb model. Everyone's got their own strategy, right? So, I mean, it'll be interesting to find out what your strategy is. What do you all do? Who's doing buy-to-let, student accommodation? Who's doing development? Let us know what you're up to. And do you need any help? Can we help answer any of your questions? Just make sure that you tag a friend in that you know is interested in property. I can see Nico Deploys just joined us. Hey, Nico, how's it going? Good to see you there. And what we are going to do is we'll run through what is happening this week. But now at the end of the month, there's quite a lot of events happening across the country. So it's important you all know about it. So we'll start covering this week. And then we will be bringing on Jade, our host. And I know, Nico, you've got quite a few deals available at the brokerage, don't you? So Nico Deploy, who runs the brokerage, has got quite a few opportunities on at the moment that he'll tell us about later on. Otherwise, Dave, let's maybe start talking about events, eh?
Yeah, 100%. Just putting everything up, getting my links. So part of it, and one of the things we already actually mentioned, is the PE Roadshow. So that's happening on the 16th of November. So this week coming up, got you guys on Wednesday. Similar sort of usual routine, starts around 6:30, runs till about 8. It's going to be a really fun opportunity. Like we mentioned, Drew's going to be there. Jade is going to be there. No reaction. So it's gonna be a really fun one. Drew, what are you guys covering on that one?
That was uncalled for, man.
That was on purpose.
I was focusing on something else then. Jane, I'm expecting an electrician, so I might have to jump off for like a minute and leave you with Dan.
Cool, 100%. Dan, what's happening at the PE Roadshow? Who are you guys talking to? What's the deal?
And I'm not going to the PE Roadshow.
Yeah, I'll be ditching Dan this time. So yeah, sorry, but the last one you can't come. But
Yeah,
still love
that
you, don't
sucks.
worry. But
That's
yeah,
good.
so Dan, from
That's
my
good, don't worry.
side, so we've got our regulars in there, Dave. We've got Absa Bank coming in. Tuhf can't be there because they're East London that weekend. Quite a few investors are coming into the room. And some other partners, Tal Africa and the guys will be there. So it'll be a great networking opportunity. Is anyone from PE? Let us know. Who here is from Port Elizabeth? Let us know in the chat box. But yeah, Dave, that's Wednesday night, right? Which is the SAPA networking event with
Yep.
Jade. And then what's happening in Cape Town?
So Cape Town, we got a breakfast this weekend. So same as Joburg and PE also. So that's happening across the country. We're doing a mastermind breakfast that's for our professional members only. Just a casual one-to-one breakfast. If you want any access to that, just email support. You can find all the information on all the events.
Yeah, and also in Joburg, Dave, the professional members in Joburg, make sure you do book and you come see myself here in Edenvale from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. We'll be doing a Joburg property mastermind here in Edenvale, which will be awesome. I can see there's a few people reaching out. Leroy, good to see you. Eric, good to see you. Marisha Robus, always good to hear from you, Marisha. And Sap and Women, that's happening across the country. Lita, is it Lita Adams? Adam and Maria Farrell are from Port Elizabeth, so I'll be seeing you on Wednesday, which will be awesome. Let us know if you have any other investors that do want to come and network with us on Wednesday night. That'll be awesome.
100%. And then a little further afield, Drew, you have a networking event on the 24th. That's up in Joburg as well. Similar event, 6:30 onwards in Joburg, probably East Rand. What are you guys covering that week, Drew?
Yeah, that's a big one, Dave. So we've got an economist from Absa Bank joining us at the Bryanston Country Club. That's our public event, and we've got a lot of our partners coming in. The conversation is all around what happened in 2022. How did this year pan out? Why are we here where we are in terms of interest rates, the economy, and what are people predicting in terms of what's going to happen next year in 2023? Where are interest rates going? So the conversation on Wednesday, the 24th of November at the Bryanston Country Club, the conversation's all around the economy. As property investors, how's it going to affect us? Should we be aggressive in the market? Should we be slowing down in the market? It all depends. That's a very important one. And then we've got the smaller venue upstairs. The capacity is only 80 people, so I'm sure you do book if you do want to come. Cool.
100%.
And
Dan, you want to talk about the event on the 3rd?
Yeah, awesome. So for all the SAP and youth members, on the 3rd of December, we are ending off the year, almost reviewing this year, how this year went. We've got a cool event happening at the Buzz. Going to be second event of the place, and super excited and buzzing for it. No pun intended, but the event is centered around towards a shared vision for all the SAP and youth members. And we will be launching new benefits to our new SAP and youth membership, things like the SAP and youth employment accelerator, helping youngsters get employment in the property sector with some of our partners. Absa Bank is going to be there. Mackenzie will be there. And it's going to be an awesome platform to come network and meet other youngsters doing great stuff. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, it's good. Definitely. So there's actually a lot, even though, where are we? The 14th of November, in my mind, there's probably 3 weeks left. Hey, Dave, about 3, maybe 4 weeks at max.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say 4 weeks, 3 weeks. People are starting to wind down, but Dave, at least we're ramping up. There's events happening in Cape Town, Pietermaritzburg, Durban, Bloemfontein, Johannesburg. I know Marisha, events across the country happening. So Marisha Robers heads up SAP and Women, and Marisha is busy dealing with all the ladies in Cape Town, in Bloemfontein, in Joburg, with regards to those SAP and Women events happening. So there's still a lot happening here at SAP, which is awesome. And I think, Dave, it'd be good to bring a guest speaker on, a guy called Jade Barkhuysen, who is from Port Elizabeth, that I'll be running the event with on Wednesday night. And I don't think a lot of the new members know Jade, so I wanted to introduce Jade. I want Jade to tell us a bit about his story, why he got started in property, how he got started in property, and then I want to talk about Jade's deal that he did in PE, where Tuhf funded the deal. So, Jade, welcome, man.
Hey, guys. Great to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you, man. So, Jade, you're out there in PE, and yes, you are now a full-time investor, and you are a coach at the Property Academy, and you host SAPN events, but that's not where it all started, right? Tell us, where it all started. Why did you get into property, and how?
So, Drew, I had a business in the motor industry, and I always knew and was interested in property, but never really knew how to do it. And while I was in that business, I just started reading books, attending webinars and things, and trying to get some more information on investing, because that's really how you build wealth, or that's how most people understand it. And while I had that business, I wanted to build up a property portfolio, but I didn't actually know how to do anything, how to run the numbers, how to analyze deals at all. And I went out and bought my first rental property, and it's a lot of people out there might have seen that deal. We always use it in our webinars. But I made a mistake. I bought this property in Warmer. I see Lita and Maria's here today, which they'll know exactly where that is, in 8th Avenue, Warmer. And I was paying 3,000 Rand a month into this deal. And I thought that was normal until I came across some information, read Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and fast forward a couple of years, met you guys. I think it was 2016 or 2017, perhaps, when you and Dave came down, Andrew, to PE to host an event.
Yeah.
And that really changed my entire life that weekend, to be honest. And I saw that you could do creative deals. I saw that you didn't actually need your own money to do deals. And it really just that was what I was looking for. And I committed. I went on to get a coach, and Dave was actually my coach. Dave, I know I'm your claim to fame, and you love having me on here. But yeah, so Dave coached me, and the first deal I did was within 3 months of having a coach, and we did it what we call an assisted sale, which is essentially where you flip a property. So it's essentially where you flip a property, but you never own the property. So I would recommend getting the right legal advice, but essentially I got a contract in place with a distressed seller giving me permission to renovate and on-sell their property to someone else. And I then kept the profit in the middle. So please just don't go out and do that by yourself. You need the right advice and the attorneys on your side. But I very quickly made a profit on that, paid off my coaching, and the bug then bit me. So I spent every waking hour I had on property. And about a year after that, I became a property coach myself. So I've been a property coach for about 4 years now, and really just super passionate about it and love property investing, still doing flips, but also specializing in redevelopments in lower income areas at this stage, Andrew. So that's a short story.
No, absolutely. It's coming through the ranks. And like you said, when it comes to flipping property, Jade, there's quite a few people I've been helping lately. Because as we all know, there's different ways to flip properties. There's a conventional way: buy the property, take transfer, pay all your fees, pay your holding fees, renovate, sell. But then there's your way there as well, assisted sales or simultaneous back-to-back deals. The great thing is when you do the flipping course, you really get that knowledge of the different ways. You get direct to distressed sellers or just general sellers. Normally, one of those 4 different ways of flipping properties comes into the conversation, and you can make a lot of money doing it, but you've got to first find that deal. Okay, cool. So you did a few deals. You're in PE. Is this what you do full time, Jade, or did you do anything else in the property space?
Yeah, Andrew, so I'm also an estate agent. Well, I'm a commercial property broker, so I focus on commercial properties, sales and procurement rentals. So that's what you could call my daytime job. And then, I look after my own portfolio, so I manage my own portfolio. I've got some student accommodation and some normal multi-lets as well.
Okay, nice. And that's with EXP, eh?
Yes, yeah, I'm a broker at EXP. What's quite nice about them, they're really geared towards investors. So when I flip a property, I can actually sell it as an agent and not pay any fees towards EXP. It's something I really liked about them. A lot of normal estate agencies would take a share, like 30% of the profit, but I can actually flip without paying any fees, which is a huge advantage.
Yeah, which is cool, eh? Okay, great. So that's what you're doing alongside the property journey, which is awesome as part of the property journey. Now, when I went to like Bloemfontein, student accommodation is the flavor of the month. It has been for a long time, and it's going to be for a long time. And then all the conversations are around that. When you go to Cape Town, we know that your general buy-to-lets, it's difficult to make buy-to-lets work in Cape Town. I made quite a few investors there. They were doing developments and Airbnb. In your opinion, Jade, in the PE market, is there one strategy that really works well or a strategy that doesn't work well? Or do you find that actually flipping can work and student accommodation does work and multi-let? What's your opinion?
Yeah, Drew, so I think in general, buy-to-let returns are not as good as your multi-lets. The yields are definitely higher in PE than a lot of other cities, I must say. So in certain areas, you can even do a buy-to-let and you could still positive cash flow and make a half decent return on your money. Multi-lets and student accommodation, obviously, you get a lot higher returns, and you can pick up properties in PE for 500,000 Rand and generate an income of 25 grand on a multi-let or on student accommodation. Obviously, as we always say, you need to make money when you buy. So you got to buy right. And that's really where a lot of people go wrong, I think, everywhere. But yeah, there's lots of opportunity, Andrew. I only invest in PE at this stage because there are some really good deals going around.
Okay, and your main strategy now, what are you looking to purchase?
Multi-lets, Andrew. Multi-lets, I've got a few student properties, but I prefer to go for the young professionals. So I'm looking at older rundown buildings I can convert into residential. And if the layout permits it, put bathrooms and kitchens in each unit. That's really what I'm seeing. There's a bit of demand for that. People don't always enjoy sharing accommodation. And of course, managing your water and your electricity on sharing accommodation is always a challenge. So I prefer to have those individual units Except if it's student accommodation, then unfortunately you have to usually do the sharing water and electricity.
Yeah, exactly. And where are you finding most of your deals there, Jade? Are you finding this through normal estate agents? Have you done any private deals in the last few years?
Yeah, Drew. So I probably find 70% of my deals through estate agents that understand exactly what I'm looking for, and they'll typically bring me the deals before they put it on the market. So I want first access to those deals. So Lita and Maria, you both agents. So just by the way, and then Drew, yeah, the other 30% I get through different avenues. Direct to seller deals. I still do door knocking. I just recently, and maybe I'll take you there on Thursday when you're here, just did a back-to-back deal in North End. So
Cool.
for those out there, back-to-back deals, simultaneous transfers where you buy and sell the property before it actually registers in your name. So yeah, just finding deals like that, and some attorneys, one or two debt counsellors I've got very good relationships with, and then my most recent deal was through a lady, an attorney that does a deceased estates. So
Nice.
yeah.
Very creative, eh? Just to butt in, and that's so important. Like before this year, all my deals like were private sellers, and the importance of estate agents when they know exactly what to bring you cannot be understated. Right? It is frustrating if they do not know what a good investment is. They do not understand what you look out for when running the numbers. I think, Dave, you developed a hunting brief in the SA Fundamental course, right, for all the members, and it's just worked like a charm. And the number of people that have taken agents to exactly what they want, where they want it, how much they're willing to pay for it. It's like beautiful, huh?
Yeah, Dan, it's so important, because remember estate agents, and I know Lita and Maria. I see Maria made a comment there. She's also an investor, by the way. It's not estate agents' job to understand property investing. Always remember, they're not always trained in property investing. They're not all investors, and they typically look out for the sellers. Like, we have to understand that. So our job as the investors are to actually train the estate agents, tell them where we're looking, exactly what we're looking for, so that they don't send you 10 links of Property 24 and just waste your time and their time. So it's essential, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think, because Jade, the word investment is used in different ways. So, we might say we're looking for a good investment. What we're actually talking about is the numbers make financial sense. So
cash flow.
In the word investment, the rent covers all the expenses, gives us the profit. Whereas to some untrained investors or to the general estate agent, the word good investment might mean it's in a good area.
Yeah.
It's got a nice kitchen, it's got a nice bathroom. So they see it as though, well, you're buying a good quality house and you're getting a fair market value, and there's a strong rental market, and that might be their definition of a good investment. And that is why, and there's potential capital growth. So it's just making sure that we're all on the same page. When we say we're looking for a good investment, we need to not make the assumption, Jerry, that all the agents and untrained investors know what we're talking about. And that is often, I've done lots of training sessions with these estate agents just for like half a day, where we run through things like basic cash flow. So we'll deal, the rent covers all the expenses, and we're looking in an area that might be good capital growth or whatever I'm looking for, and you train the agent. And that normally goes a very far way. But even installment sale agreements, showing agents how we can pay them their commission up front. Doesn't always happen, but there are ways where you can. So the deal's done quicker, the agent gets their commission, and we get the installment sale agreements. But you have to learn how to negotiate those deals, right?
Yeah, for sure, Drew. I mean, to give you an example, last week an agent sent me a link to a deal. The purchase price was 380,000, and she was very excited because you could get 4,500 rand rent for this property. And I said to her, well, listen, you still got to pay levies. Just after the levy, you negative cash flowing 300 rand. Then you still got to maybe work in management, maintenance. So you negative cash flowing 2.5 grand at the end of the day. So that just is exactly what you just spoke of. They might think it's a good deal, but it's a terrible deal.
Yeah, exactly. Dave, what's your take, man?
Hey, I'm fairly famous for my opinions about estate agents. Like Jed says, a good estate agent that knows what's happening. A good estate agent that knows what they're doing, great, absolutely cool team member, and Jade's had a lot of success with them. But I've had a lot of experiences like Jade's just described. Yeah, here's a great deal. It doesn't even pass the sniff test. So you
Yeah.
definitely have to work with them. And when you find a good estate agent, take care of them, do what you can, get them involved in deals, show them the process, introduce them to other investors so that you can help grow their portfolio, because that's just part of the relationship with a good estate agent.
Exactly. No, 100%, man. If you have just joined us, by the way, I see a few people have joined. This is the coffee chat with Dave, Dan, and myself, and we've got Jade Barkhuysen from Port Elizabeth running through Jade's journey, why he started, when he started, what he's doing now. And Jade, you've also concluded a deal with Tuhf. So Tuhf do lots of inner city financing. So Jade, getting into the deal itself, and if you have any questions for Jade, please pop it in the comment section. If you want to ask Jade any questions on his journey, his experience, student accommodation in PE, feel free to fire questions at us now. So yeah, Jade, maybe take us through the deal that Tuhf helped you finance. How did you find it? Why was the seller selling, and what was the opportunity?
Okay, Drew. So this deal took me about a little bit more than 12 months from start to finish. So it was quite a process. I'm going to try and break that down for you as best I can. So this property was actually on the market on Property 24, and I saw this property a couple of months earlier. It was just sitting there. It wasn't selling. Now this property was in an area called North End. Now, typical of North End, most of the properties look like houses, but North End is also built on a downslope. So typically what happens is you'll look at a house from the street view, but it's actually a double story because it goes down at the back, and you might have extra rooms at the back. But anyway, so I saw the listing, and the agent had taken a photo just of the main house. But meanwhile, this property actually had 3 buildings in total, and it used to be an old commune. So there were 19 rooms on this property, which you wouldn't be able to see if you just looked at the photos. So I always thought, geez, it's listed at 1.45 million, and it's just a house in North End. To give you an idea, selling prices there, top selling price maybe like 850 to 900,000. So I just scrolled past it for about 3 months, and then I saw a drop in price from 1.450 to 1.150. So 300,000 rand drop. Okay, now oftentimes that catches investors' attention, right? Because now you think, okay, something's happening here. There's a level of motivation. They've been in the market now. So I phoned the agent, and he said to me, listen, you got to come check this place out. It's got rooms everywhere, but for some reason, people haven't been inquiring, probably for the same reason that I didn't inquire, because of the high price. Went to go check it out, thought, geez, this is an opportunity. And then the decision was, well, in fact, I put in a full offer because my numbers made sense on the full price, and they just dropped it, and I didn't want to lose it. There was already Res 3 zoning in place. That was a big positive for me because I didn't have to rezone at all. Okay, so that can be 18 months, the rezoning process. So Res 3 zoning, it already had approved building plans for the existing structures. Nothing was off plan. We had approved plans from 1924, so way back. And that's actually what got the deal through. I then went to my team, which was my architect and town planner, said to them, guys, listen, my idea is to actually convert it into bachelor units. So each unit has own bathroom and own kitchen, because in that area, you don't just want to stick people in rooms and they're sharing toilets and bathrooms. It becomes a nightmare to manage your water and electricity. Just in short, we recently had, in fact, we still have water restrictions in PE, and the cost of water goes up in a sliding scale. So if you use too much water and you go above tier 1, your water doubles. If you go above tier 3, it triples. You get to tier 5, it's like 20 times, literally 20 times of what your normal rate would be, which is like 28 rand a kiloliter. So you've got to be very careful of that. That throws deals out completely. And that's why I wanted to have prepaid water and prepaid electricity meters for each unit, so that couldn't happen. Okay. And then it was a long process. I got the offer accepted. It was subject to finance. We had to
Jane, at that point, at that point, why didn't the seller do this himself or herself? Were they distressed, motivated?
Yeah, so the seller wasn't a property person. They had owned this property for about 27 years, and they've been running they had a small bookbinding business that he ran from the middle building. Didn't know anything about property, just wanted to sell because he needed cash. With COVID, his business really struggled, and he had no idea how to develop a property or what to do. So he just wanted to sell and get his money back.
Yeah. So it was very lucky that it was zoned as Res 3, right?
Yep, big time
building plan.
Yeah. So listen, you learn so much in this process. And one thing that I learned is in 1987 there was a law in Nelson Mandela Bay that came into play, which basically said in that area it's a blanket zoning of Res 3, but after 1987 you can only actually use your building for Res 3 purposes that's bigger than 1,000 square meters. This was 640 squares. So luckily, we had approved building plans from 1924, which predated 1987. If it was after 1987, I wouldn't be able to do what I did on the property. So it was very interesting because I didn't even know that. I found that out through the architect and the town planner, and it took us a couple of weeks during due diligence to actually figure all this out. And there was a certain element of risk in the deal as well. It was subject to finance, and we had to do 2 addendums to extend the finance period because Tuhf, as you said, Tuhf financed it, and they wanted approved building plans for the development before they would finance it. So we're trying to get the plans through before it registered. But then what happened is the seller started getting impatient. This was like after 4 or 5 months, and he said, listen, I'm going to put it back on the market. So I was then forced, Andrew, to actually turn my finance offer into a full cash offer. Otherwise, I was going to lose the deal. And for those of you know how OTPs work, I essentially lost the protection of the mortgage bond clause. That's a clause we, as investors, we use as a backdoor. Okay, so it was subject to 100% finance, but then I made a cash deal. So I took a calculated risk here because if I didn't get the plans, Tuhf was never going to finance the property, and I would have sat with the property but not being able to develop it.
Yeah.
So sometimes as an investor, you take calculated risks, and this one paid off luckily.
No, you have to, eh? And Joe, there's a question there from Marisha. It's saying, have you ever had any problems with heritage approvals for alterations in PE?
So Marisha, great question, because obviously heritage do get involved, and typically down here, what they do is they really want to look at what you're going to be developing. It's not that much about what's existing. They want to see what it's going to look like afterwards. So you can keep that, as you say, the heritage or the traditional look of the building. In this case, I only redeveloped the property, so it was mostly interior alterations. I didn't add any roof space. I didn't build anything. So it was we didn't have any hiccups with heritage, fortunately.
Okay, cool. So then, Jade, you ended up buying the property cash. Is that right?
Yeah.
But then you were knocking on Tuhf's door. So maybe just for people that don't know about Tuhf, give a high-level view on what they lend on, purchase, refurbs, all that, and how they work.
Yeah, so they specialize in inner city buildings across the country, and they'll have a certain zone that they will finance in. For instance, if you're in PE and you know PE, they won't finance in the western suburbs. That's way too far from the CBD. And they'll typically look at developing buildings from scratch or redeveloping business, such as this case. And they'll fund the purchase price and even the development up to 80% of the total cost. So you can buy a property for R1 million, redevelop it for up to 6 million, and they'll lend you up to 80% of 6 million. So that's a massive cha-ching. And they also look at the deal not so much as the investor themselves, because you might not be able to afford a 40,000 Rand a month bond, but if the deal makes sense and they back the jockey, then they'll still look at funding it. So if you're a person that never developed the property before and you don't want to build, 100-unit sectional title building, they're not going to fund you. They look at your background, who you are, if you've done this before.
Yeah, 100%. And Jade, I had a conversation with the guys from Tuhf last week. They are nothing out of inner cities.
Yeah.
They've got a big goal to hit, and I've always known Tuhf as inner city is going to be in those boundaries, but now they're actually starting to expand out. So not like here in Edenvale and surrounding areas, where we're not in a city, we're in a town, which is good to know, right? Because they're expanding.
That's great. That's great.
And I know there's a question there from Nisa. In the Eastern Cape, are the letting agents good? I assume you don't manage them yourself. I don't have any properties out there, but Nisa, Tuhf are in the Eastern Cape this week. They're actually launching their branch, the new office in the Eastern Cape. So if you do need any letting agents out there, we can definitely recommend. or you may want to partner with Preferential and use Preferential services. Nisa, have you heard of Preferential? If you haven't, they will send you a Sapin link, a Sapin Connect link if you haven't. I personally don't manage my own properties. No, some people do. Jade, are you self-managing or do you use a letting agent?
Andrew, not this development property. This one, I'm using a letting agent that specializes in the lower income areas. So you got a very good footprint there. So I do manage the rest of my portfolio personally, but not this one. There's going to be too many tenants there.
Yeah, definitely. But you'll work with your letting agent. You won't just give it up and say and hope and pray you get your rent. You'll keep your finger on the pulse, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. You got to work very closely with them, eh?
Yeah, no, definitely. Because anything can go wrong and you want to make sure that you're ahead of the game. So, Jade, cool. So you took occupation, you renovated the property. Did the renovation go smoothly? Were there any hiccups? Was it good? Did you spend millions, hundreds of thousands? Any lessons learned?
Yeah, so we did go as usual. Often you go over budget with these things. There were one or two things that caught us off guard. For instance, the municipality insisted before they approved the municipal plans or the building plans that we had to install a new municipal water meter, which was a bigger water meter than the normal ones, and that cost like an extra 25,000, which no one knew about because that apparently that rule only came into play in December last year. So neither the architect or the builder or anyone knew about that.
That's
and then we also put a borehole in that came in at about 25 grand more than what we were quoted on and hoped for. And yeah, there were a couple of things that were more expensive, but all in all, very happy with the project. And I think it's going to be a good deal.
Okay, nice. And is it finished though, Jade?
Yes, at this stage, we've got 5 of the units that have been let out, and there's 17 in total. So the uptake has been a little bit slower than we've hoped for. But going into January, I think we should be able to fill it up.
And it'll pick up a lot, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think what we'll do now, Jade, is myself and Dave will go through, and Dan, the events that are happening this week. If you have any questions for Jade around student accommodation, the flipping, or anything about Jade's journey, or property questions, please ask us now. Some of you have just joined. If you don't know, towards the end of the Sapin Roadshows, I've been to Bloem with Dan, and we went to Pietermaritzburg and Durban, then went to Cape Town and did an event in Pretoria. And I'm flying out to Port Elizabeth to see all the PE investors this week, Wednesday night. We are running an event at 6:30 with Jade. Myself and Jade are hosting that event. And it's a great opportunity. If you are out in PE, let your other PE investors know. It's a great evening just to network, to learn, get some more education, as well as making new contacts so everyone can do business. So that's this Wednesday night. Dave, what's next after that?
After that, Drew, you, myself, and Jade were all hosting breakfast in our respective cities. So that's going to be Cape Town, Joburg, PE. Dan, I'm assuming you're going to be joining that one, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, you can't miss this Saturday, right? Every single investor, if you are in Joburg and want to watch Marissa, Robo, Slam Dunk, and you've got to come.
Yeah, I'm actually nervous. Marisha, she's going to come and she's going to walk around. So, Jay, does this room look familiar to you?
Yes, it does.
That's where you stayed, remember?
Exactly, yeah.
I put Jade into this Airbnb. Well, it was not really Airbnb yet, when Shame, elderly lady used to own it. And Shame, we won't go into details. So long story short, I was saying today we took transfer, and Marisha's going to come give me a whipping this Saturday. But it'll be interesting, Marisha? So that's for the professional. Only for the professional members. We'll take about 20, 25 professional members. We've got one of the Sapin youth ladies doing breakfast for us, eh?
Yeah,
Tato's got a nice breakfast. Enough here in Joburg to have a few cash flow games. So it's the mastermind for the pro members. So we're going to go around the room. What successes have you had this year? What's happening next year? Just to support each other, have that conversation. And then there should be time for at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half to play the Robert Kiyosaki cash flow game. So that's happening this Saturday here in Edenvale. just make sure you book if you do want to come, if you're a Pro member. And Dave, I know you're doing something similar, not playing cash flow, but you are going to be running a breakfast, eh?
Yeah, 100%. So we got our breakfast over here in Cape Town at our usual venue. So for those of you guys who know where that is, again, like Drew said, professional members only. We're going to essentially replicate our usual mastermind format. So we're going to spend some time understanding what goals you guys are setting. We're specifically talk about next year. What goals are we setting for 2023? How are we going to achieve those? How are we going to hold each other accountable? And then instead of playing the cash flow game, we're going to spend some time talking about the local markets, what's happening in Cape Town. There's some exciting news. Drew, you heard the gist of it with Amazon offices getting green light last week. So some really good
cool,
development and progress happening in Cape Town. So we'll spend some time talking about the market and answering any questions that the guys have.
And Dave, with Amazon coming into Cape Town, were you saying they're going to be attracting more Europeans into Cape Town?
Yeah.
Which is more Airbnb accommodation.
Our remote work is going to be going from strength to strength. Our e-visa program is in place for the nomads. It is going to be looking really good for some short-term lessons. Is going to really pick up here in Central Cape Town. It's going to be great.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Maybe some
it's
commercial
going to be so cool for Cape Town.
That's huge.
Maybe some commercial.
Oh, and I forgot to mention. Also, Dave, I remember I went around with Darren Francis.
Yeah.
I went to Mitchell's Plain and those areas, which is quite cool, eh? It was interesting to see hey, Jay, I don't know if I told you. I did. I put the video in the group about going into Mitchell's Plain, going into those areas. And yeah, it's an eye-opener, but you see guys making good money, eh? Like, flipping properties and making a lot of profit, and even multi-lets and stuff. But you definitely need to be a local or know the locals, because if you don't, then there's trouble, eh? So it's an eye-opener to see.
Kind of like investing in Grimsby, right?
Geez, yeah. I don't know what's worse, Grimsby or Mitchell's Plain. But that's what's so interesting, guys. From a Sapper perspective, like going to Mitchell's Plain and seeing how people are making money in those type of townships and areas. Then you see guys like Ridwan, making big money in Camps Bay. They're coming to PE and then Bloemfontein and Peter Maritzburg, and look at the new hotspots in Durban. Howick is coming up and Hilton's coming up. And actually seeing what's working. So what we're going to start doing, Dave, is working with you guys, you, Cashni, John, and Jade, and Absa Bank have said they want to start writing reports and giving us more data with regards to where they predict the hotspots are going to be, which will be awesome. And we'll definitely pass that down to all our members, because if you can ride that wave, it'll be awesome. But more importantly, Dave, the 24th of November is the Joburg public event, which is all about the economy, the South African economy, and why are we here where we are with interest rates, and where are interest rates going next year. And I've got an economist, Salo from Absa Bank, coming down, giving us that forecast, as well as all the other partners like Baldo from TPN, Dave. He's coming down. He's going to be giving us some predictions, and he's going to give us an update with regards to the SA market overall. I mean, Jade, I asked Baldo to get us some data for PE on Wednesday night, so let's just chase him. So it's always good to actually find out what is actually happening in the country. But yeah, so that's what's happening, guys. Are there any more questions for Jade? I mean, Jade, from your side, is there any advice or any tips you can give anyone starting out in property, that is?
Yeah, I guess I can relate it to my own story, Andrew. I think it's important to invest in yourself first, okay, before you go out there and try and do deals. You can't just attend one or two webinars and think you're going to go flip a property. Be patient, invest in yourself first, but there also comes a time where you've got to take action. So you can't read all the books, do all the webinars, for years and years and years and never take action. Eventually, you've got to step forward and meet your fear and actually go ahead and do deals. So yeah, that's my tip of the day.
Yeah, definitely, man. I agree. And even like the advanced guys there, Jade, I've met quite a few people that have been in property for a number of years. But because you've been in property for a number of years doesn't mean you know it all. I mean, look at Dave, myself, the Mark Bermans, you'll never know it all. So all you can do is empower yourself as much as you can. That is why Sapit is around. That's why we run all these events. That's why we chats. That's why we have the SA Fundamental course. That's why we have the professional membership. Because the more support you get, the more education you get, the more confidence you get, and the more money you'll make, essentially. I can see Nico put a comment there. Hey, Dave, let's just get up about the reverse immigration.
See, there's an advert about reverse immigration wave hits South Africa as wealthy buyers make a big move back to Joburg. Wonder if this will reduce purchase prices in Cape Town. I sincerely doubt it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I also saw that advert, Nico. Reverse immigration, people moving. I told you Joburg's the most beautiful city in the
I
country.
would not rely on an advert for your news source.
Wonder if this would reduce. Well, the thing is with Amazon coming in, and I don't know what impact they'll have to the local economy, Dave. But I mean, that's probably yes, people will be renting, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of people coming in buying properties. I don't know if you're talking hundreds of people or thousands though with Amazon.
We're talking thousands. 6,000 direct jobs, 20,000 indirect jobs.
So it's not bad, eh?
It's 6 billion rand project.
Sure, yeah, it's big, which is so good for the country, man. But John, Nico, it's a good question, and I wonder if it would. Let us know the rest of you. Do you think people moving back to Joburg from Cape Town, the reverse immigration, will that affect Cape Town prices? What do you guys feel? Let us know. But otherwise, besides that, Dave, you've posted all the links in the comments box. There's still a lot of events happening pretty much all across the country, from normal SAP and breakfast to SAP and public events to SAP and women events around the country. Make sure you attend the last few for the year. And watch out for Black Friday. So obviously at SAPN, we'll be doing some awesome Black Friday specials. Dave, I think that's like the 25th or the 26th, somewhere towards the end of the month. So keep an eye out for that. I'm not quite sure what the date is, but it's somewhere around there. But if there's no more questions, guys, I think we can call that a wrap, eh?
Yeah, 100%. That was good.
Yeah, Jay, thanks for your time, man.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks for having me, Andrew and Dave, and everyone that was on. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome, Jade. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Looking forward to the event on Wednesday and breakfast on Saturday. So, yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Oh, you're also doing a breakfast in PE, eh?
Yeah.
Sorry, we forgot about you there. Okay, awesome, Jade. Thanks, bud.
Okay, cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.